Richard Linklater's Slacker isn't just a film. It's a philosophical experiment captured on camera. Released in 1990, this cult classic defies conventional storytelling by rejecting a central plot and instead offering a series of vignettes centered around the musings and lives of everyday people in Austin, Texas. But what may seem like a collection of random, disconnected conversations is actually a profound reflection on existentialism, freedom, absurdity, and the human condition. Slacker is a cinematic journey into what it means to live in a world devoid of clear purpose or direction. Today's video, where we're going to delve deep into the philosophical genius of Slacker. We'll explore how this film taps into existentialist thought, postmodern philosophy, and the absurdity of everyday life. By the end, you'll see why Slacker is more than just a quirky indie film. It's a philosophical masterpiece. At first glance, Slacker seems to lack any clear structure. There's no protagonist, no traditional plot arc, and no resolution. Instead, the camera drifts from one character to the next, capturing fleeting moments of conversation. This narrative style mirrors the postmodern philosophy of rejecting traditional structures and embracing fragmentation. In a way, Slacker is a cinematic embodiment of postmodern thought. There's no singular truth, no definitive story, only a kaleidoscope of perspectives. Postmodern philosophers like Jean-François Lyotard argue that the grand narratives, the overarching stories that once gave us meaning, like religion or progress, have lost their hold on us. Slacker reflects this perfectly. The characters in the film are detached from any larger narrative. They aren't on a hero's journey or seeking some ultimate goal. Instead, they're simply drifting through life, exploring random thoughts, and engaging in seemingly pointless conversations. This lack of structure mirrors the freedom of the film's characters. They're not bound by societal expectations or a quest for meaning. They're free to explore their ideas, however strange or trivial. In that way, Slacker invites us to question the structures that govern our own lives. Why do we need a narrative to feel fulfilled? Why can't we, like the characters in the film, simply exist in the moment? One of the core themes of Slacker is existentialism, particularly the ideas of Jean-Paul Sartre and Albert Camus. Sartre famously said, "We are condemned to be free," meaning that humans are burdened with the responsibility of choice in a world without inherent meaning. This sense of freedom and the weight of choice is evident in the way the characters in Slacker drift through their lives. Characters in the film aren't searching for purpose in the traditional sense. They aren't striving for success, wealth, or status. Instead, they're simply living moment to moment, engaging in discussions that range from the deeply philosophical to the absurdly mundane. This mirrors Camus' notion of the absurd, the idea that life is inherently meaningless, but we must live it fully despite that. In the myth of Sisyphus, Camus writes that we must imagine Sisyphus happy, even as he pushes the boulder up the hill for eternity. The characters in Slacker embody this idea. They're not fighting against their circumstances. They've accepted the absurdity of life. They're like modern-day Sisyphuses, finding joy, humor, and connection in the randomness of existence. The film suggests that perhaps there is no grand meaning to life, but we can still find meaning in the act of living itself. Throughout the film, we see this existentialist ethos play out in the characters' lives. From the man who spends his day ranting about anarchism to the woman obsessed with conspiracy theories, these characters aren't looking for external validation or meaning. Instead, they're creating their own, however absurd or fleeting it might be. Another philosopher whose influence can be felt throughout Slacker is Friedrich Nietzsche, particularly his idea of the will to power and the rejection of conventional morality. Nietzsche argued that traditional values, especially those tied to religion and societal expectations, are oppressive forces that constrain human potential. Instead, he advocated for the creation of one's own values, a process he called becoming who you are. Many of the characters in Slacker embody Nietzsche's rejection of social norms. They refuse to conform to societal expectations of productivity, success, and order. Instead, they embrace their individuality, no matter how unconventional or rebellious it might be. One character dismisses the need for a steady job. Another talks about alternative forms of living, while others obsess over eccentric theories and ideas. This rejection of traditional values mirrors Nietzsche's call to embrace personal freedom and create one's own meaning. Nietzsche's philosophy also speaks to the film's broader ethos of rejecting conventional narrative structures. Just as Nietzsche rejected the herd mentality of society, Slacker rejects the herd mentality of traditional filmmaking. There's no protagonist to root for, no clear plot to follow, and no resolution to be found. The film, like Nietzsche's Übermensch, stands outside the traditional structures of storytelling, creating its own path. One of the most fascinating aspects of Slacker is its ability to find philosophical depth in the everyday. The characters aren't scholars or intellectuals. They're ordinary people having seemingly random conversations. But in these conversations, the film invites us to see the philosophical potential in everyday life. Philosopher Martin Heidegger argued that the everyday is where we encounter the most profound questions about existence. In his work Being and Time, Heidegger suggested that it's in the mundane, repetitive actions of daily life that we are most confronted with our own being. The characters in Slacker are living proof of this. While their conversations may seem trivial, ranging from UFO sightings to political conspiracies, there's something deeply human about their desire to make sense of the world around them. These characters are, in a sense, modern-day philosophers. They're questioning reality, challenging assumptions, and grappling with the absurdity of life. By presenting these conversations as central to the film's narrative, or lack thereof, Slacker invites us to consider how we, too, are engaged in philosophical inquiry, even in the most seemingly mundane moments of our lives. In Slacker, the act of thinking, talking, and questioning becomes a form of resistance against the conventional ways of living. It's not about finding definitive answers. It's about embracing the process of inquiry. In this way, the film suggests that philosophy isn't something confined to ivory towers. It's something that happens in cafes, on street corners, and during late-night conversations with friends. At its core, Slacker is a film about the search for meaning in a world that offers none. This is perhaps where its philosophical genius truly lies. Drawing heavily from existentialist thinkers like Camus and Sartre, the film embraces the notion that life is absurd, and it's up to us to create our own meaning in the face of that absurdity. Like Camus' absurd hero, the characters in Slacker have accepted that life offers no grand purpose or answers. They aren't seeking external validation or a higher calling. Instead, they find meaning in the act of living itself, in the randomness of their conversations, in their quirky obsessions, and in their refusal to conform to societal expectations. Sartre's idea of existence precedes essence is also central to the film. In Sartre's view, we are not born with a predetermined essence or purpose. We create it through our actions, choices, and relationships. The characters in Slacker are living this philosophy in real time. They're not concerned with fitting into societal molds or following a predetermined path. They're creating their own essence as they go along, embracing the freedom that comes with it, no matter how absurd their lives may seem. In the end, Slacker isn't just a film about quirky characters wandering through Austin. It's a profound meditation on freedom, absurdity, and the human condition. Through its lack of structure, its embrace of the mundane, and its rejection of conventional storytelling, Slacker challenges us to rethink our understanding of life's purpose. It invites us to find meaning, not in the grand narrative society imposes on us, but in the everyday, in the absurd, and in the act of simply being. Thank you for joining me on this philosophical exploration of Slacker. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know what other films you'd like to see explored through a philosophical lens. Until next time, keep questioning, keep thinking, and remember, sometimes the most profound insights come from the most ordinary moments.